Hello YouTube, Bartley once again at MTX Automotive. I wanted to pop in here and do a part 2 video concerning this 2012 Traverse I had in my shop. It had first of all, I'd done a motor swap on it because the timing chain had swarmed on the original motor. So I'd done a motor swap on it, got that done, and it was throwing code, well, it wasn't really a code, but the stabilizer, Stabilitrak, TCS, all that bullcrap that floats across the screen, or the instrument cluster. Anyway, so it was flashing that, and it also had the p0449 code, which is the vent solenoid on the evap system above the fuel tank. So I troubleshot the vent solenoid first. Just found it to be good, in good shape. It was clicking and functioning as it should. So I went to tracing the wiring down, and it wasn't getting 12 volts to the 12-volt wire, and it had no ground either. So it had major problems with the wiring. And what I found was there's a plug right underneath the driver door that goes up through the floorboard, and it comes from all that stuff on the fuel tank, which is the fuel pump, the vent solenoid, all that stuff. Got a little wiring harness that comes up through the floorboard right there at the driver door, and the 12-volt wire was broken right at that plug, just right underneath the door, and under the floorboard, right up there. You'll see it crawling under there. I don't want to get down on the floor today, but anyway, so I fixed the broken wire. Then I discovered the white wire, which is a ground wire, wasn't grounding properly. So I had to trace that wire, one single white wire, all the way from the vent solenoid valve all the way up through the floorboard. It goes across the floorboard to the passenger side of the car, and it comes up into the fuse box. Then from the fuse box, that white wire travels and goes to the ECM, where it is controlled by turning the ground on and off, or, by giving it ground. Well, as it turns out, the wiring, all the wires were good. It was not getting contact through the fuse, the electrical center. And as many of you know, this looks like a motherboard when you take them apart. So they're basically not repairable. So what I wound up doing, I had already isolated the wire, the white wire that I was tracking. So I cut it loose from the main harness on each side, where it comes from the inside the cab, and then where it comes from the ECM. And I put a fusible link right here for that wire. Okay. It's not the fix I would desire, but these electrical centers are very expensive, and the customer didn't really care about paying for that, and I don't blame them. Because anyway, this fixed that issue. No more p0455 codes. So then my attention turned to the Stabilitrak service Stabilitrak message that was flashing across the data center in the instrument cluster, and that ended up being a sensor, or the steering wheel position sensor, which had been installed by the dealer sometime back, a year, 2 years ago. And it was with my scan tool, I discovered that code was still present in the system as being a fault code. for the steering wheel position sensor. So I done a relearn on the steering wheel position sensor, and that so far, fingers crossed, has fixed the Stabilitrak message coming across the screen. I've test drove it and it hadn't come back. Took it on a pretty good test drive. Hadn't come back. So the only code in the system, currently is for the heater control module, which customer don't want to mess with that right now. But anyway, I just want to let you guys know about these demons of a GM product. Anyway, couple more problems solved, so I'm out.